Well, greetings. My name is CindI Meyersohn. I am the CEO of DataRebels, and I have with me today Dan Linstedt, the CEO of Data Vault Alliance and the creator and inventor of the Data Vault 2 solution. So, I would like to ask you a question, Dan, as we're sort of preparing for our new CDVP 2.1 class. I feel like what we're doing is Mythbusters, but one of the things that I've heard oftentimes is that there's not, in fact, we've run into this ourselves in working with clients and customers and even talking with students, is that there is sort of a misunderstanding. Oftentimes, I think it comes from management, potentially, where someone hears about Data Vault or they read about Data Vault on the internet, for example, and they have the sort of wrong impression of what Data Vault truly is, which can cause issues with implementations and expectations even downstream. So, if you don't mind, how often would you say that we run into situations where Data Vault's sold, I would say, without giving the proper introduction and explanation of its purpose? And can you define what how it should properly be introduced and explained when people are interested in learning about Data Vault or interested in implementing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic question. And before I get started, I just want to say really quickly, my answer isn't meant to hurt anyone that's doing this. But I will say this. How often? Well, if you're looking for percentages, I'm going to guess because I don't have numbers to back it up right now. But what I hear about is roughly 60%, maybe 70% of the time, right? And those are only about the ones that I hear about. What's going on beyond what I hear about, I've got no clue. I can't measure it, right? Because I don't know about it. Excuse me. But in terms of Data Vault being sold without giving proper introduction, I think that comes from either a lack of understanding or not enough not enough of our videos or our output in the marketplace to try and correct this, right? A lot of folks are trying to do the right thing. When they sell Data Vault, they have a good heart, they want to do the right thing, they want the customer to succeed, but unless they understand it, it doesn't quite go over that way, right? The biggest problem or the biggest issue with selling Data Vault is a lot of folks try to sell Data Vault itself as a product. Number one, I've heard that. Data Vault's not a product, by the way. It's a methodology. I've also heard Data Vault sold as only a data model. And again, Data Vault is not just a data model. A data model is one piece of a Data Vault solution, right? Data Vault itself is a methodology. It is a system of information management, or you may have heard this one. Data Vault is a system of business intelligence. It is built with a methodology, a model, and an architecture that all work together to implement an enterprise solution. Now, when I back off of those words and I go to the customer's shoes, the customer needs to now understand, or anyone that's watching this needs to understand, that what we're talking about here is truly enterprise level. You don't get there in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. You heard that, right? Anything enterprise is complex. Okay? However, the Data Vault has a silver lining. And this also oftentimes is missed in the sales process or not explained. And that is that you start small. Always start small. Always narrow the scope for implementation and fail hard, fast, and iterate, because it comes with incremental build out. So you can always leverage whatever you built before. And this is something that's missed. And so what happens is, the customer says, yeah, Data Vault sounds good. And then whoever sold that brings in one person, sometimes a team of 30. And that's where the issues start. So if it's one person can't do the work of the enterprise. It's impossible. I mean, one person can advise the right way to do it and be an architect and a designer and sit at an advisory level, and that's great. That works good, right? As long as the people doing the implementation have been trained. And this is the second half of the equation. There's a lot of people that try Data Vault by just reading the book. And the book is good. It gives you solid foundations. The book I'm talking about is Building a Scalable Data Warehouse with Data Vault 2.0. So the book is a solid foundation. A lot of people have it. A lot of people read it. But the book alone does not get you past your specific implementation hurdles or your issues or any fires that come up. It doesn't really focus on a lot of the agility and the way the team should deliver or the way the team should scope. It's more focused on the implementation at the technical level. And why is that? Well, because at a certain point, the publisher said, said to Michael and I, hey, we need to publish the book. We said, but we're not done. And it was about 3 years in, and the publisher said, we don't care, we have to publish it. And the other thing is, well, had we written all the Agile stuff into the book, that book would be probably 3 or 4 volumes easily, right? All the same size, a couple thousand pages. Who wants that? So what we do now is we wrap it into a class, and in that class, we help with the understanding. If Data Vault gets sold improperly and all of a sudden the consultancy shows up or with 15 people or 20 people, if not a single one is trained, they all run around trying to build just a Data Vault model and load it. And of course, it doesn't work because it's missing the methodology, it's missing the architecture, it's missing the recommended practices, it's missing all the components that need to make it agile and to get results to the business analyst fast. And one last thing on this, when I say fast, I mean in development environment, we are teaching teams now how to do one-day sprints, one-day iterations, right? And that's from a business user story, and we thin slice it to a specific set of requirements that can be met in a day and build it out all the way to the BI tool with results in the BI tooling on the front end. Not pretty charts and graphs, not wonderful placed reports or colors or any of that, but data. Get the data flowing. And again, it's all in development. But one-day sprints to output. I think this is key. I think this is critical. It's part of the show me, right? Do it and show me. And I think this will help with the sales process going forward.
So one other aspect of this really quickly, if you could touch on. So because Data Vault is a methodology and the fact that it crosses people, process, and technology, I believe that that is oftentimes missed, right? Everybody focuses on the magic button, right? And so the easy button, if you will, and they want to look at it from that perspective. But from I would say from an agile perspective, could you talk for just a minute about what we're doing, for example, in the class to handle the agile aspects of Data Vault and how we've extended that a bit?
Yeah, for sure. We've spent a lot of time working with Scott Ambler behind the scenes to help upgrade our materials. And we have also been working hard at explaining what analysis paralysis is and how people get stuck and providing mitigation strategies for how to get out of analysis paralysis or how to avoid it in the first place, right? How to navigate around it so that you don't get stuck if you're in a team. And that's part of the issue is that the teams think, well, I got to build all of this stuff into the staging area before I can do anything in the raw vault. And then they turn around and say, well, I've got to build everything into the raw vault before I can put anything into BI. And then they turn around, well, you see this just waterfall approach, back to the old ways of working, the old thinking, the old, got to do this before that. Well, what we like to do is something called a thin slice. focus on what you have and what you can output right now. And so when we thin slice it, and I got to give credit to Scott Ambler for that term, but thin slice it, whether it's vertical or horizontal, doesn't matter. We're both talking about the same thing. When you thin slice it, you can be agile and get moving and get answers to business analysts fast and in an efficient manner and with better quality. So in the course, since you asked about the class and what we're doing, we've updated all the materials to talk about these different aspects in the ways of working, and we've upgraded workshops as well. So we've integrated a lot of the stuff we teach into the actual workshop of being agile, which now comes on day 4. So day 3, day 1 through 3 is all instructor led. Before that, the student goes through videos online, 24 hours of training or whatever of online self-paced. And then beyond that, the instructor led 3 days, and then we have the workshop on the 4th day, which you need to be in if you're a student in the class. And that workshop is all day. It's how to build, right? It's practice building a solution. And I don't mean code-wise. I mean teaming. I mean drawing on boards and things like that. So it's active. We don't get into code. We don't get into debugging. We don't get stuck in analysis paralysis and all that. It's all about how the team collaborates and moves the entire process forward. We do some
Well,
design, we do some architecture work, and so on.
I guess I was thinking also in terms of talking about explanation of purpose, right? So, an explanation of what Agile is to the business at the business level also entails an understanding of the business's responsibility in the area of collaboration, which I think also gets misrepresented because people are focused on the model versus the ways of working. And to set expectations, if you will, for the business, they need to be prepared to collaborate with the team. That is
Absolutely.
absolutely critical.
Yeah. You touch on a key point that I forgot to mention, and thanks for bringing that up. We do talk about collaboration, and to your point, the thing that's missed is, the old way was you come up with a use case in business and you toss it over the fence, or you toss it over
Yeah.
the river or across the moat to the IT team, whether that's outsourced or insourced or hybrid sourced or whatever, right? And then you wait until they come back and say, we have something to show you. Now, that's not the new way. You can't be agile and collaborative in that model. So you have to change the way you think. If you're in business, this is part of overcoming how Data Vault's sold. It's a methodology change. It's a way of working change at the business level as well. So there's um, fundamental changes that have to happen in communication styles and collaboration styles in order for this stuff to work. And this brings me back to the Einstein quote, which everybody misquotes. Everybody says, well, Einstein said, do the same thing over and over again. This definition of insanity. But in fact, Einstein didn't say that. And I'm going to get this wrong because I don't have it in front of me. But Einstein really made reference to the idea that you need to change the way you're thinking in order to achieve a different outcome. You change your thinking, then you change your actions. So you change the way you work, and then you can have a better outcome. And so that's what we bring to the table.
Yeah, I think what he said was you cannot correct a problem with the same consciousness that created it.
Exactly.
Right. So it's very interesting, and I think the expectation that business has is there's an easy button because it says it's agile. It should be fast and easy, and then you throw it over the fence, as you mentioned. And in fact, that's not true. Collaboration is king. Communication is king if you want success. And I think that is not communicated well when Data Vault is quote sold. So
I'd agree.
yeah. Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope if anybody has any questions, you'll reach out to us at contact@datavaultalliance.com. We'd be happy to hear from you.
Excellent. Take care.
Thanks.